the statistic when I started going and looking on subpoenas is 1 out of every 3 subpoenas gets rejected. And and I learned in that moment, and I said to her, I said, did you do this, 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 and this? And she goes, how do you know? I said, well, I just spent 45 minutes on the phone, going through all the channels, getting to the right people, getting the information that you needed. And so I gently, very gently sent her the instructions. It went through. 2 weeks later, we got all the information. 2 weeks later after that, we ended up settling. And that's when my husband turned to me, and my now husband, and he said, Becky, you absolutely have to do this for attorneys.
Welcome to the CSG Law Firm Podcast, where we talk all things law firm finance, operations, strategies, and feature those who have dared to embrace bold changes in the legal landscape. I'm your host, Chelsea Williams, founder of Core Solutions Group and chief financial architect for law firms since 2017. I get the rare glimpse behind the curtain and into operations, mindset, and money habits that make or break law firms. Since COVID, everything we thought we knew about how a law firm should run, look, and feel have been shattered. And out of that disruption, a new kind of law firm owner has emerged, one who's bold enough to build outside the box. Around here, we spotlight those renegades, owners who blend legal brilliance with real business strategy, who build boldly, think creatively, and know that money isn't just math, it's mindset. We don't shy away from hard truths. We lean in with curiosity, grit, and a little humor. Whether you're scaling, stabilizing, or just trying to stay sane, you'll find stories, strategies, and straight talk to help you run a more profitable, value-driven law firm. So grab your coffee or your case files and let's get into it. Because it's time to ditch the stuffy suits and take control of your cash flow, build something bold, and prioritize protecting profits in your pocket. Okay, let's dive in.
Okay, you want me to just tell the story?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Well, so here's one of the things is it's kind of the backstory of how I got into doing Only Subpoenas is I have been divorced not only just once, I've been divorced twice. And I am happily married now to the love of my life. So that's really, really great news. I know. However, it didn't start that way a while ago. So my first marriage, when we were together for 7.5 years, got divorced. We never saw an attorney. We never went in front of the court. And we just literally went to a friend who was a notary, signed everything. And then now I wouldn't say that it was an easy process for me, but that's all I knew. I didn't ever think I was going to get divorced to begin with. And when that marriage broke up, I didn't know again about the legal system. Well, then I was single for 8 years. What's unique about my first marriage actually is because I had just recently lost 130 pounds, hit my goal weight, got divorced, and quit my job all in the same month of July 2010. Yes. And so I had a total life reset at that point. And that's really kind of what catapulted me into the public eye because I was reaching out to people going, hey, do you want to hear my story? Because I just kind of went through some pretty amazing stuff. And I ended up in radio because a girlfriend of mine like, hey, come be a guest on my radio show. And then I took over her radio show for 2.5 years. And I was speaking, I was writing books, I was doing workshops, I was out there writing books about relationships and dating, and all of that kind of thing. So about 8 years, there was a span of 8 years where I was single, and then I ended up getting married to my second husband. And I remember saying to him when I got married, he was 18 years older than I was. And I said to him, I said, look, I'm not doing this divorce thing again. So like, this is my last rodeo. like, and, so we jumped in and we went to Hawaii on our honeymoon. And while we were there on our honeymoon, he ended up getting offered a job because he was a former police officer. And so they had a position for security. And I remember looking at him just going, are you kidding me? Are you really considering this? Like, yeah, he's like, yeah, that'd be so much fun. Let's move to Hawaii. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we went back to the mainland and got everything prepared. And within a few months, they gave him an official, offer. We packed everything up. They gave him 2 weeks to be in Hawaii. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got to pack up the whole house. He left. I stayed back for 3.5 months as a newlywed and got the house rented, got everything fixed, went to Hawaii. And within 4 months of me moving to Hawaii, because thinking that we were going to stay there 2 to 5 years, got a renter to rent the house. He wanted me to sign a fraudulent tax return. And I said to him, I don't do that kind of stuff. And 10 minutes later, he turns to me and he says, Becky, we need to get divorced and we need to get divorced quickly. And I was like, what? Like, I literally just left my whole life, moved to Hawaii to support him with this job. And granted, there were some other things that were not jiving, but this was just over a year of us being married. And he's threatening divorce. And I had no idea. I mean, I was on the, we didn't, first of all, I didn't have to work because, we were in a financial situation that we were fine. And, um, and a couple weeks after that, I turned to him and I said, can you just like tell me like everything that's wrong with it? Like why cannot we not work this out? And anybody that knows me, and I'm sorry, I don't have it with me. I usually use it, but I usually have a notebook. And I said, wait a minute, hold on. Before you start telling me everything, I need to get a notebook because I need to write down everything that you have to say. And he's like, yeah, write this one down. You know what I mean? Like, write this one down. And I was like, okay, what else? This one, I have this problem with you. Okay, what else? What else? And then within the next few minutes, he said the best thing he could have ever said to me. And he turned to me with all seriousness and looks me straight in the eyes and said, Becky, I'm having a really hard time seeing the value that you bring to my life. And I was like, wow. Okay, well, here's the good news. And this was one of the most defining moments of my life because this really does lead into why I do what I do now. But I turned to him and I said, here's the good news. I know the value that I bring to your life. Whether or not you choose to see it or not is none of my business. And that was the first time that I think that I really stood up for myself. Now, even though it took another 7 months for us to actually, go through the courts, and I had to prepare the court papers because he wasn't doing it and he was trying to do all this shenanigans. I was a full-time student in 7 full-time classes in college, getting my degree in peace building, believe it or not, and mediation. And I served him divorce papers on April 1st. Didn't mean for it to be April Fool's Day, but April 1st, 2020, at the airport in Honolulu on his way out. And the only reason why it was that particular day is because if you remember in 2020, they were shutting the whole world down. Mm-hmm. And it was within days. I mean, that was the third flight that I got him off the island because the other two were canceled because they kept canceling more and more flights. So we finally got him off the island. But as I was driving away from the airport, dropping him off, I knew he was going to be served in just a few minutes. But I said to God, I said, please keep my heart soft towards him and towards other men. Because I knew, even though it was really out of my control, because it was like he had made his decision and there was nothing else I could do. So that was my first step, is filing for the divorce. I didn't know that that was going to end me in a 3.5-year battle up against 5 attorneys, 21 hearings, 21 subpoenas. That's what I mastered, subpoenas. And I settled for a fair and equitable division. I won my case. Now I say win, not because like I beat him somehow, but I advocated for myself, and not because I wanted to represent myself. I just didn't have the resources. And so when I finally did have the court have him pay for an attorney, my attorney looked at me and he says, Becky, how did you get 21 subpoenas like back? And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, well, most of these are out of the state, out of Hawaii, and you got them all to respond. And I was like, and he was shocked. Yeah, he was shocked. I said, so as we started working together, I realized he didn't like to do subpoenas. And I was like, okay, why would you not do a subpoenas as an attorney? And so, time went on. Another year after that point, And my former husband finally paid the bill, as I said, the settlement, and I had to go through all this enforcement. He paid the bill, and 5 days later, I never thought I was ever going to get married again, but I met my now husband and online. And I had no idea that within 30 days, I'd be moving myself back to the mainland. I met him on Christmas Day, which was awesome, face to face. And within 2 weeks, we were back in the court system because he needed to fight for his granddaughter. And there was a situation, and I never thought I'd be back in the court. And I told him, I said, the only way that you're going to keep this little girl safe is to go for guardianship. And we went back in the court. And I, at that point, didn't know anything about kids' cases. And I did a bunch of research, just like I did with my case. And we ended up getting an attorney. And a year into that case, we were getting ready for trial. And so my husband calls me one day and he says, Becky, we need this subpoena. And I was like, okay, so I'll call the attorney. Called the attorney, 35-year attorney. So very experienced. And I said, hey, my husband wants to do this subpoena. And he says, well, I don't want to do it. And I'm thinking, why would you not want to do this? Like, again, I'm like, this is the reason we're going to be able to give the judge what he needs, but we need the subpoena. And he goes, well, if you want me to do it, it's $500. And I was thinking, for what? And my husband said, I don't care. I don't care if it's $500. We need to get the information to win our case. So finally, that attorney said, yes, I will do it. And so within that 45 minutes, I get off the phone, go do my due diligence, like I always did with subpoenas, called his paralegal back, who's 18-year paralegal. She's very, very experienced. Let's just say that. And she goes, no problem, Becky. I've already done the subpoena, prepared it, drafted it, went off to the bank within that 45 minutes. And she goes, it's already been rejected. So the statistic when I started going and looking on subpoenas is 1 out of every 3 subpoenas gets rejected. And I learned in that moment, and I said to her, I said, did you do this, 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 and this? And she goes, how do you know? I said, well, I just spent 45 minutes on the phone, going through all the channels, getting to the right people, getting the information that you needed. And so I gently, very gently sent her the instructions. It went through. 2 weeks later, we got all the information. 2 weeks later after that, we ended up settling. And that's when my husband turned to me, and my now husband, and he said, Becky, you absolutely have to do this for attorneys, because it is something that we started seeing, that it's a linchpin in their cases that could move the cases through a lot quicker. But there was a problem, and most attorneys don't like to do them because they require a lot of detailed work. And I'm a detailed person. I'm a researcher. So yeah, that's how Only Subpoenas came about.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that story. And I think it's really cool when a business or an idea or concept is birthed from like a personal journey. And I appreciate you sharing all of that with us. And I'm glad you found your person
I
now.
know.
And I mean, this just, to me, I'm curious why you said that, law firms aren't using them as much as they could because they don't like the detail-oriented work. And in my mind, I'm thinking any business has detail-oriented work. And as long as you systematize it and charge for it, it's a thing. So what is the mental block? What is the real mental block behind why they don't like doing this?
Well, so I can only imagine. Okay, so one of the reasons a subpoena is not a cut and dry thing. Every single subpoena has its own way of doing it. So because every business that you're going to subpoena has a different way of receiving that subpoena. So it's not like you can't just pull up a template and be like, oh, this is how you do a subpoena. Well, sure, you can draft up those templates, but it's the time and the effort to do the detailed work to go and make sure that it's going to go through. Some subpoenas are fairly simple. Other ones are a lot more complicated. And how are you going to know if it's an easy one or if it's complicated? I cannot even tell you how many attorneys I've talked to to, they're like, yeah, we just draft up a subpoena and send it off and hope it gets accepted and it gets rejected. And I'm like, okay, wouldn't it? So it proved to me, would you like to waste the time of your paralegal who's doing a lot more than just subpoenas and go and give them a task, pay for them to do the task, and then not get the result that you want? And so to me, it makes perfect sense. Just get straight to, I always say, stop asking for permission and go straight and go get the information you need to. So your forensics people can do what they can do. You can do what you can do. Couple reasons why, honestly, I think, Chelsea, that attorneys also don't do them more is because there's a lot of paperwork that comes back, and then there's a lot of forensics that need to be done on that. And so that is something that I also handle as well, is, if that's something that they don't want to do, not only are we going to get it accepted, and when they work with my company, it's 100% compliant and accepted, or else they don't pay. And it's a
Mm.
flat fee for me. So, or for them, I should say, when they engage Only Subpoenas, because I wanted it to make it a no-brainer. It's like, you're not paying me hourly, you're not paying me. Look, just send it out. Within 48 hours, you're going to get it back to you to serve. But it's going to be done correctly with that jurisdiction. Because every single jurisdiction, I was a guest on someone's podcast the other day, and he's like, now, Becky, all the jurisdictions out there. I'm like, no, I actually don't. I don't have them all memorized, but I guarantee you give me a subpoena, I will go and find out exactly what the rules of that jurisdiction are in order for me to feel 100% to be compliant, and also to feel confident that when I send it back to the attorney, it's done correctly. Because that's all we do. We specialize in it.
So what's the motivation for law firms in terms of how important can subpoenas be, and how can they be like the thing that really pushes the case to be won as opposed to without it?
Yeah. So the main thing that I experienced in my first divorce was, I'm sorry, my second divorce, the one that I was in court with, is that when you have all the information that you need for your case, there's no more hiding.
Mm.
There's nothing else. There's no more like saying that this is the truth. No, it's like, this is the truth and here's the facts. And so gathering all of that, it caused, not only in both of my own personal cases, it caused leverage for people to settle, right? I also have one of my clients right now that called me and said, look, we put a subpoena out there and we've got two that are rejected. Can you fix these? And I'm like, well, absolutely. I mean, like, you put the effort into it, right? You need the information so that you can move these cases through quicker. Because going through discovery, that can take months. And
Mm.
then you ask for the discovery. And now I always say to people, subpoenas are probably not your first choice. Try discovery. But if discovery is not working, then why not just go in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on whether it needs to be domesticated in that state, foreign subpoena. Go get the information so that you can be like, hey, we're moving this forward. Everybody gets discouraged when their cases drag out forever, you know,
Yeah.
but they get motivated when there's momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And from an operational standpoint, because you said you are flat fee, you figured out how to do this in a
Mhm.
flat fee way, which is amazing. And like my financial brain wants to pick your brain on how exactly you did that and what data you used. And maybe
Yeah,
that's another episode, and that's fine. And so you make it really easy for law firms operationally and financially to approach you and bake that into what they're doing with their pricing model anyway.
absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying is that what you're paying me is just getting passed on to your client. And I have bulk rates, which allow you to get it as a lower
Mm.
price. If you want to put your own fee on top of it. I found out apparently in state of Florida, they're not allowed to do that. Like, but in
Florida's
other
special.
states, yeah, yeah. So, but if they want to put another fee on and charge a different thing, my thing, the whole reason why I'm in business is I want people to win their cases, meaning a fair and equitable whatever it is. I specialize with divorce, but I can do them for any of them. So that's why I keep the fee where it is. So it's a win-win-win. It's a win for me, it's a win for the attorney, and it's a win for their clients. And their clients are happier. They're more likely to refer when they can, instead of stalling. I can't tell you how many people call me and be like, Becky, can you do my subpoenas for my attorney? I'm like, well, I need the attorney on board because I'm not a licensed attorney and I'm not a licensed paralegal. I'm just really, 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 really good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's special. I'll give you another example, Chelsea. This something that just came to me the other day is I run my own podcast, and you know how much work this is, right? And I've been a graphic designer for 30 years. I know how to do video editing. I know how to do graphics. I know how to do scripting, all of that kind of stuff, which is a little unusual because most people don't. However, lately I've been doing a lot of that production work. And just because I can do it doesn't mean I should be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tell attorneys is just because you can do a subpoena, and even your paralegals can do a subpoena, should you be doing it, or should you offset that to somebody else that specializes in it so that you can quickly get what you need? And I even had my attorney, I called him the other day, the one I used in Hawaii, and he's like, Becky, you should do this and this and this. And I said, no, no, no. My company's called Only Subpoenas. That's all we do. Like I want to be so niched that
Mm.
we are the go-to place for subpoenas, whether it's in state or out of state, which is called foreign subpoenas, I have found that a lot of attorneys fear that, although they need the information, they just don't have the time and the energy to do it to make sure that they go through. And I want to
Yeah.
support them in that.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me because I see the math behind utilizing your highest and best use of time, or
Absolutely.
even your team. I see the math behind, say a paralegal, because you said 1 in 3 subpoenas gets denied regularly. So
Hmm.
having a paralegal go and do this multiple times and what it's costing the firm to allocate time and resources to multiple attempts, as opposed to, like, what is your ratio? How many out of how many subpoenas you work on, how many get denied or sent
None.
back? None.
None, because no.
So,
So I mean that's my guarantee is that we
yeah.
will go the extra mile and make sure that every single subpoena, and if for some reason it gets rejected, we do not charge you that for that,
Mhm.
because it's like that's what we're doing, and believe me, I want to get paid just like everybody else, so I'm gonna double, triple, quadruple, or my
Yeah.
subagents are gonna make sure that those are done correctly. So that's the guarantee that I put out there because I'm that confident that I know the processes, or we will find out the processes to make sure that they go through.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel like there's two things I think law firms need to know as we kind of come to the close of our time here. The two things that they need to know, we need to call them out. Number one, about why you are hesitant to do subpoenas, number one. Number two, if you can get over that, and even if you're already doing subpoenas, this is why it is worth it to just delegate it to
Yep.
someone like you, as opposed to trying to get it done in-house. And I'm also curious, I'm going to tack a third one on there. Are there any other practice areas aside from divorce that this might be helpful in? So, number one,
Oh,
why you need to get over, sorry, why
yeah,
do
no,
we
go
need to
ahead.
get over this?
Why do we need to? Well, so it's the same thing with my graphics. I'm going to go back to that, right? Like I can do it, but is that really the best use of my time and my talents and my abilities? No. We knowing where our lane is and staying in that lane and then getting people around us to do what their specialties in, then I think more and more attorneys are getting to that point where it's getting so crazy out there,
Mm.
and more specialties are coming, that they're realizing, look, all of us can rise together. All of us can win cases, but it is hard, especially if somebody's not used to delegating the first couple times for
Yeah.
them to delegate and to trust that process. And then they start feeling like, whoa, the momentum, wow, okay, I can feel like somebody's got my back. That's as any entrepreneur, I would say that to anybody, even outside of the law. So I say, look, let me have your back. Let our agents do this specific thing for you, because you're going to feel the momentum and you're going to feel the power once you engage that outsource, for sure.
Amazing. So that's the delegation of it. Um, what about other practice areas that you think this might be useful for, that there may be underutilized?
Definitely, I think, a lot of people do business litigation. Anybody that's in litigation, I mean, there's high probability that they need subpoenas. It was interesting. Went to a PI firm. I was telling you about it earlier. I went to a conference there and realized that most of the PIs don't use a lot of subpoenas unless you are on the plaintiff side. And but because that's interesting, because there's enough leverage there for people to actually give the evidence up. So it's any kind of practice of law where you're getting resistance in discovery, and you don't want to waste months, if not years, in discovery, and just go get it. Like, just get it. And oftentimes I think attorneys think it may take a long, long time to get subpoenas back. This is another factor that I do, is I do all the follow-up. So you put it out there, you give them 2 weeks, they don't respond, or maybe they give you some of it. You just call me back and say, hey, Becky, this is missing, this is missing, this. And I call them because I have relationships with these companies. I build the relationship. That's very important with them, that I can call them back and say, hey, what's going on with this? Why is this not coming back? You don't have to waste your staff's time to do that. I do all the follow-up because it's a flat fee. It doesn't matter to you. But my most important thing is that you get the paperwork and you get it back in a timely manner, and it's done correctly.
I love it. So it's also that factor of case turnover. It really helps to increase that, which, my money brain is like, all right, well, cash flow. Yes, it's an investment to have someone like you do it, but you're also allocating your team resources probably a little bit more efficient, because you're
Yes.
getting it done with a guarantee. And then you're also keeping that case moving so that cash flow is more consistent. It's, case turnover side of things.
Yeah, you don't get stuck. It's not that cog in the wheel, right? And you're like, ugh, can't, yeah, definitely. Maybe that should be some kind of a motto of mine, is keep your cases flowing.
There you go. Yeah, don't let subpoenas be the cog.
be, be in the flow, because I always say I don't go where it doesn't flow. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I think I have a few clients in mind already that once this episode airs, I'll be like, hey, you should go listen to this. So I really appreciate your
Awesome.
time and expertise and your story.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share it. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is most people don't know. Are there other paralegals out there that do subpoenas? Yeah, of course. However, specializing, when you get somebody that specializes in it, you get moving a lot faster and quick.
I mean, you're talking to the right person, because you say that and I'm thinking of the people that DIY their QuickBooks, and I'm like, oh, please don't. Oh, please don't. Please don't have the
See?
office manager do it. You don't do it. Please just delegate it to us.
But that's the reason, Chelsea, that you're doing the business that you're doing as well, is because when you have somebody that specializes in it, it goes so much smoother. And it's just that little bit of trust, just to say, okay, I'm gonna just try them out and see how
Yeah.
it works. And then you're gonna feel the momentum of everything, and just the energy shift that happens in your business when you're able to offload some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. And I really appreciate and respect the way you're doing it with your guarantee. I mean, that really shows how confident you are. You've been through
absolutely.
it personally, so you don't have to convince anybody. You're convinced. You're saying, no, just trust me once and you will trust me for the rest of the times. Just give me that one chance.
Bulldog Becky Brockovich. That's my name.
I wish I had a mic. Mic drop. That's
Boom.
it. Oh, awesome. Thank you. We will have all of the links to all the places on
Sure.
where to find you, how to find you in the show notes, but tell our listeners here where they can get a hold of you.
There's two really easy ways. Basically, just go to my onlysubpoenas.com. Make sure you spell it correctly. And there is a book a call on there, or you can just give me a call just directly. My phone number is down at the very bottom on my first page of my website. So you can call the business number or book a call, and we'll do a little Zoom and see if we're the right fit.
All right. There you have it.
Thanks for tuning in to the CSG Law Firm podcast. If today's conversation sparks something for you, an idea, a challenge, or even a little discomfort, that's exactly the point.
We're here to rethink the way law firm owners approach money, leadership, and growth. If you're ready to dive deeper, connect with me and my team and learn more about Core Solutions Group and what we do, head on over to our website in the show notes, doorcoresolution.com. Because sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective and the right people in your corner. Until next time, keep building with intention, lead with clarity, and remember, the numbers tell the story, but you get to write the next chapter.